All right, let's dive into an incredibly satisfying story about a family inheritance that absolutely proves why you should never, ever value cold cash over genuine sentiment. Today we're unpacking a fascinating real-life drama that has literally everything you could want. Family tension, a massive secret, and a heaping serving of poetic justice.
Before we break down the exact timeline of what happened, I want you to think about what you would do if a loved one's final wishes felt entirely unfair. Inheritance disputes tear families apart every single day, right? But usually, what you see on paper is exactly what you get. However, as we're about to see, sometimes a seemingly lopsided will is actually a carefully crafted test of character.
Part 1. The setup. Here's where we meet Chelsea, a truly devoted daughter who is mourning the recent loss of her dad after a really tough, year-long battle with an illness.
Compounding Chelsea's grief was this heavy regret. She had an unfulfilled promise to give her dad a grandchild. She'd spent his entire final year visiting the hospital and supporting her mom. And this perfectly contrasts with her sister, Portia. Portia lived just 2 hours away in the city, but she couldn't be bothered to visit. At all. When Chelsea begged her to come, Portia complained about the cost of gas and finally snapped with those exact words, "I'm busy, so stop contacting me." So Portia made her priorities abundantly clear.
Part 2. The division. So, a few weeks after the funeral, the family lawyer sits the mom and the two daughters down to read a secretly drafted will. Now, the mom rightfully receives the house, but the remainder of the estate is left to the two sisters, and it consisted of exactly two things: his life savings of $100,000 and a dirty 65-square-foot storage shed on a rented farming plot. Portia's eyes immediately light up. She stakes her claim on the liquid cash right then and there, leaving Chelsea with what appears to be a completely worthless, rundown shack.
Literally without a second of hesitation or sentimentality, Portia secures the $100,000. When Chelsea briefly objects, saying it isn't really fair, Portia actually mocks her for caring more about their dad than the payout. Portia goes so far as to immediately lock in her demand with legal paperwork, happily signing away any future claims to the estate just to ensure Chelsea couldn't ask for a single dime of that cash.
Part 3. The discovery.
Now, Chelsea's obviously still reeling from this unfairness, but she chooses family peace over a messy legal fight. So she visits the rundown shed, just hoping to find a small sentimental keepsake. Inside, it's dusty, dim, and filled with exactly what you'd expect: basic farming tools, nothing remotely valuable. But as she's standing there, her intuition kicks in. The dimensions of the shed completely defy logic. She steps outside, looks at the exterior, steps back inside, and realizes the internal space simply does not match the external footprint. It just doesn't add up.
Remembering her dad's lifelong love of surprises, Chelsea methodically pieces together this brilliant puzzle he had left exclusively for her. She walks around to the back of the shed, which is obscured by a thicket of trees, and finds a completely hidden second door. Knowing her dad, she realizes the key just has to be close by. She goes back in, searches the farming tools, and miraculously finds a set of keys cleverly stashed inside the hollow handle of a shovel.
Okay, so she unlocks that hidden back door, and boom, there it is. Behind a false wall sits a secret 3-foot-wide room, and sitting squarely in the middle is a massive, heavy safe. Chelsea instantly recognizes it as the very safe from her father's old corporate office. Inside this hidden compartment, she tearfully embraces the metal box, because to her, this is a beautiful, sentimental memory of the man he was, and she feels completely fulfilled just having it.
Part 4. Word travels fast.
Chelsea and her husband quietly moved the safe to her mother's house for safekeeping, and they discover what was inside. Fast forward a whole year, things had totally settled down, until the secret accidentally leaks out when Chelsea generously sends a $500 gift card as a thank you to an aunt. Well, word travels fast. $100,000, remember that was the maximum amount of cash Portia gleefully walked away with. But when Portia hears about Chelsea just handing out $500 gift cards, she shows up completely unannounced, demanding to know if her sister had won the lottery.
Chelsea calmly explains that the safe she found in that dirty shed was absolutely packed with their father's secret hobby, a pristine luxury watch collection. When Chelsea had a CPA appraise the collection for inheritance taxes, they valued it at a staggering $500,000 minimum. Yeah, you heard that right, $500,000.
Of course, Portia is furious and just overwhelmingly suspicious. She aggressively interrogates her sister.
Chelsea is completely transparent, though. She admits she kept a few sentimental pieces, but had to sell some of the watches to pay the massive inheritance tax. But during this argument, Portia zeroes in on one critical detail. She asks where the remaining watches are, and Chelsea innocently admits that the massive safe is currently sitting at their mother's house. Portia abruptly gets up and leaves.
Part 5, the late-night break-in. And hey, real quick, if you're loving how this karma is about to unfold, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
So, later that very same night, Chelsea gets a frantic, terrified phone call from her mother telling her to come over immediately. At 9:15 p.m., the mom had heard strange noises and saw a flashlight beam dancing around the living room. Thinking a dangerous burglar had broken in, she quietly escapes through a window and runs to a neighbor's house to call the cops. The police arrive incredibly fast, sirens blaring. The intruder inside panics in the dark, sprints for an exit, and accidentally bumps the heavy open door of the safe. It violently topples over, completely crushing the intruder.
Part 6. Karma Served Cold.
When the cops rush in to secure the scene, they make a jaw-dropping discovery about the identity of the trapped, injured burglar screaming for help. It wasn't a random thief. No way, it was Portia. She had actually snuck into her own mother's house in the dead of night to rob her sister's safe. Why? Well, it turns out Portia had secretly racked up crippling debt buying designer brands just to keep up appearances. She had already blown through her entire cash inheritance. Her absolute greed resulted in a crushed, fractured leg, an ambulance ride, and, to top the whole shebang off, her infuriated husband showed up at the hospital not with flowers, but with divorce papers.
Now, in stark contrast to Portia's absolute ruin, the story closes with a really beautiful resolution for Chelsea. After the dust settled, Chelsea and her husband decided to move back into her childhood home to keep her mom company and keep her safe. And right after moving in, she discovers she is finally pregnant, bringing the story completely full circle to the very promise she made her dad on her wedding day. She truly got the ultimate happy ending.
So it really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Was this all just a happy accident? Or did a brilliant, observant father orchestrate this entire inheritance structure right before he passed away? Did he purposely leave the liquid cash as bait, knowing Portia's greed would blind her, while leaving a hidden treasure for the daughter he knew would care enough to visit that old shed? I'll leave that for you to decide. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want more satisfying stories like this one, please make sure to subscribe. See you next time.